I'm Psychologist Dr. Bryan Violet, and in today's snapshot, we will be looking at highlights from my conversation with the Greek freak, Dimitrios Meleounis. He is a longtime friend, best man in my wedding, and all-around great guy. We'll be having a conversation about his personal change and flight into atheism. This is the Catholic Center Show. Yeah. Let me ask you this, and now this might throw you off because you might not have an answer to this question. Mm-hmm. But I like to ask this question, and I hope you do have an answer to this question. If you don't, I'm going to judge you.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. What are you working on in yourself right now? Do you consciously work on yourself?
I do, yeah. Especially as you're well aware, I've lost both my parents in the last couple of years. It's been a rough go. So I'm working on a lot of my fears. My biggest fear is, my fear of death at this point. I'm traumatized by it. I've lost.
You can get in the back of the line.
Well, yeah,
because fear of death is ultimate.
But the thing is, my faith is depleted too. So I have no belief that there's an afterlife.
Really?
I believe it's done and over, and this
is a major change.
Yeah, and that's where my fear is really, really grown because I think this is our one shot, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Blink.
What prompted that? As long as I've known you, mm-hmm. You were very deeply involved in your Greek Orthodox faith, which was akin to a Catholic perspective, mm-hmm. and we talked about matters of faith. Over the last couple of years, I went away to graduate school. I lived in Virginia. I was in Denver. I came back. You moved to New Jersey. So we don't have many opportunities like this to sit down and talk. This is complete news to me.
It is, yeah.
So what prompted the change for you?
I think just experiences. It's kind of all the loss I've encountered, and for me, I think I've developed the mindset. I'm I need to be it needs to be proven to me that this exists, this is real, and faith isn't enough for me. It's kind of thing where from what I've learned from my rational mind, it's just no, this isn't real. There's been different iterations of religion throughout time and cultures, and it's just our way of kind of coping with our existence here.
So it's psychological.
Yeah.
So psychology is the highest level, and religions fit under the psychology.
Yeah.
Rather than them integrated on an equal level.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I still am for me, my Greek Orthodox background, it's still a part of my life, but because it's tradition at this point, it's a big part of our culture and of who we are. So I still want to connect to the tradition. I still want to connect to my parents and the rest of my family. So I still am a part of it, but inside, I honestly my faith is gone.
Is that harder with your parents passing away?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
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 Imagine
it is, yeah, definitely. But that's where I'm at. So it's I forgot your original question, to be honest.
No, I was interested in how this developed, and I'm sure it wasn't a particular moment, but when you said experience has eroded my faith, mm-hmm. Was there a particular experience? When you say experiences, I'm sure they weren't
so it
carnival experiences. Yeah, I assume they're painful experiences.
Yeah, but it started even before any of the loss. It's just I think it just developed. I need to be a more practical mind where I need to see it to believe it. And that's, the more you became educated, the more connected to Catholicism, to God you became.
Yes.
The more I became educated, I went the other direction.
Yeah.
And because it's just, my mind is just, I guess it's built in the way where I need to be shown that this is real.
Yeah.
Why am I going to put my time and effort into something that I think is a story?
What would it take? God popping his head out the cloud.
Pretty much.
Surprise!
Yeah.
I snuck in a club.
Yeah. It would take something pretty big.
Miraculous.
Miracle,
not something that could be interpreted as miraculous, but also could not be interpreted, which is a lot of people's spiritual experiences. You could look at it, and for them, with in their psychology, there's a coherence to all these transcendent or supernatural events. Right. But someone else can look at the same thing and be coincidence.
Right.
So for you, it needs to be
no interpretation.
The cancer was gone. Was here and now it's gone. It's that level.
There's no interpretation for me. It's either
unequivocal
real or it's not. Yeah.
That's to be unequivocal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that my education took me a different way, where I've read you've studied multiple religions too, I'm sure of it. But I think for me, I connect them all together as stories, as a human defense mechanism to be like, we can't just be here for no reason. And I think that's us just trying to, rationalize why we're here.
But you ultimately believe that we're here for no reason.
Yes.
So this is like a chaotic amalgamation of primordial soup bringing us to where we are.
Or, it's some other, it could be even, I think it's more realistic that some other civilization came here and kind of like experimented and cloned us or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because we're doing the same thing right now. And that's more rational to me because we're cloning, we're exploring space. And so that is more of a realistic interpretation of why we're here than.
So you must have been fired up with these recent hearings about
with the little with the little alien stuff.
Well, that there's what do they say? Biological, bioorganic material. These Air Force guys that had before the Senate, they gave testimony that there is extraterrestrial life, and they don't call them UFO. They don't call them UFOs anymore. They call them like, I forget what the acronym is, but
Mexico came out with like little they had mummified aliens that they brought out, but I still need to be it still needs to be proven to me that it's actually an alien, not just like a hoax.
Sure. So you're equal opportunity skeptic.
I'm not going to be that other Greek guy on what's the show on History Channel, Ancient Aliens, that crazy Greek guy. It's I'm not going to be that guy because I still am not convinced that that's real, but it's more rational to believe that, I think, than to believe just another version of another story of why
is that more rational?
Because we're doing the same thing. We're on the path. If we don't kill ourselves beforehand, it destroy the world.
It's very possible. AI is quite frightening, isn't it?
AI, global warming. We're not doing a very good job of what we've been given. So
it's what is it? Skynet.
Skynet. Yeah, I also think I would thrive in that kind of world, but.
You're so edgy. This is why you love. So now it's all coming full circle. This is why you love Cable from the future.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was built for an apocalypse.
I think you look good with a techno arm.
I got to bulk up a little bit first, but it'd be pretty lame to have a 13-inch python.
Yeah, but it's metal.
Yeah.
So that's always cooler.
But yeah, it's just
It's where you are.
Yeah, it's where I am.
Yeah, no, I mean, I respect that. I respect you coming on this show and talking about it.
And I didn't want to tell you beforehand because I'd rather just, talk about it here.
Well, I love it. Yeah. This is why I want this show. I want to be able to talk to people. We shut each other down so much, so I just want to hear people's everybody has a spot at the table, especially even from a Catholic perspective. Faith is a gift, and there's a mystery to it, and why people believe and when they believe, and like it's not distilled down to psychology or the will. It's not a failure by someone if they struggle with faith or they have doubts. Like even in my life of faith, I'm not going to say like I've always had complete and utter abandonment to God's providence.
Right.
Like there are moments that we have thoughts, we have intrusive thoughts, we have moments where we question stuff. Like this is part of the journey.
Yeah.
From a Catholic perspective. So like I have no.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just glad to hear. I'm glad.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that you're sharing it.
And I don't really announce it because I never want to, tread on someone's faith or beliefs.
But that's the problem.
But you
should be able to talk about it.
Yeah, but it's
our relationship should be strong enough.
Right, our relationship, absolutely, yeah, and that's why we're here and we're talking about it now because, there never came up a time like, hey, Bryan, by the way, this is a perfectly, I think, natural moment to talk about it. But others aren't you. Others will take offense immediately.
Well, I hope that people are watching this
Yeah.
and feeling more and more comfortable to have these kinds of conversations because there's nothing worse than dialogue shutting down.
I agree because I think one of the greatest things is my wife is deeply Catholic and
really
and has.
I was going to ask you,
faith.
What does she think about this?
She's
Get out, bring her in here. No, I'm just
I do love the tradition of it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to me. It really is.
Yeah.
But I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
And that's so it's. I haven't spoken to any my priest doesn't know my feelings about this. It's
why not?
Because it's I don't know.
It's the first person you should talk to.
I know, but because I don't believe in it. I don't want to be. I'm at that point where I don't want to be.
He knows you though.
He knows me. Yeah, he's the one that married me and Megan.
I liked him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So, I mean, so you're okay. So for you, it's more like the decision is final.
At this moment,
You're not like,
I'm not looking for
I'm
advice.
not wrestling with it. I'm
yeah,
wrestling with this. You're past that.
I'm done. Yeah.
When you were wrestling, why didn't you talk to anyone then? Which might have pushed you further in the direction of atheism.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just at that point, why not reach out and talk to someone? Because it's a pretty important question. I mean, people don't want to spend time with this question because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Whether you believe, if you believe it's terrifying, if you don't believe it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And as you get older, it becomes more prominent in your mind. I think in everybody's mind. Like when you're younger, you're just like living, life.
Right. And now the clock's ticking. That's the thing. That's where I'm at, and that's where a lot of my fear comes in. I mean, I think I just knew it. Like I didn't really want to talk about it.
Didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, because this is what I feel, and
Do you think you'd be judged?
Yeah, definitely. Especially speaking to a priest or to to somebody that and
you might be surprised.
I know and I know I would be, especially with Father George. He is one of the most understanding.
You think you're the first person ever to struggle with doubts
right,
that he's encountered?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. But I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready for, or even will be ready for, to discuss it.
Yeah.
Because this is what I feel. This is what I internalize, and this is where I'm at. So I'm still trying to internalize why I feel this way, and my fear of dying. So I don't have that will to just like talk about it, because I'm still struggling with the fact that I have these fears that my mom and dad are gone, and that's it. They're gone. I'm not going to see them again.
Yeah. So I mean, there is a Catholic answer, an overlay to this question, which I can put aside for a moment, but what you're describing is inherent to the human experience. Mm-hmm. All anxiety and depression at its bottom level is fear of death.
Yeah.
Why? Because death represents the ultimate separation. We are relational beings. We are born to be in communion with each other. That's why you don't have people live alone by themselves and live a flourishing life. Alone by themselves, period. Like, even if you're alone, like, you can think of the guy that goes up to Alaska and lives with the bears. Like, he makes relationships out of the bears.
Right.
Or if someone's living as a hermit, it's like,
that's what I was going to ask.
It's giving up relationships for a spiritual relationship with God. Like, we can't help but be in communion and relationships. It's constitutive to who we are. And so for everyone, death represents separation. You can't go with me. Mm-hmm. Right? Remember Samwise Gamgee, Mr. Frodo, don't go where I can't follow you.
Right.
And it's very, very upsetting. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the Catholic answer to it, which I think from your perspective, you would say, well, that's a psychological defense. But the Catholic answer to it is, well, that's why Christ came. Like, death is a revolving door for him. It's like, you actually don't even have to do that alone. Like, he holds your hand as you walk through the doors of death with him. Mm-hmm. Right? He don't care. He went to Hades and came back, and his body was resurrected. Like, that's the great Christian message, is like our worst fear. He attends to that. And then, like I said, from your perspective, that's because it's so terrifying.
Right. We've
created that.
Exactly.
We create this myth based on that, which, it's a reasonable perspective to have. But ultimately, fear of death and fear of separation and disconnection is horrible. Mm-hmm. It's really terrifying.
It is, yeah. Yes, and every culture has their way to internalize it and make it, That's why are there so many religions? Why are there so many different belief systems if there are, if there's this one path? Yeah. It's because every culture is different. Every culture has different, systems and understandings, and so we create these different stories.
Yes. Well, each religion would give an answer to that. They'd give a different answer to your question.
What about the not one true God, but multiple gods? It's
what would they say about that?
Yeah.
Well, they would say that like monotheistic faiths are reflective of a particular God as part of a larger pantheon. A monotheistic faith, depending on which monotheistic faith, a Catholic faith would say that other religions of the world are preparatory. And just like, there's this like time is an interesting question to explore, which is, it is relative, which, science talks to us about how time is relative, but even in our own experience, like, I work with people in therapy who are actually I mean, they're chronologically in their 40s, but are actually 6 years old in terms of maturity. So time is interesting. I mean, there's all kinds of thoughts about how like the Mass, the Catholic Mass, didn't happen 2,000 years ago. It's happening now. It's the real presence of Christ, and eternal life is an ontological change. It's like it's a change in being. Heaven's not like you get there and it's like an eternal sequence of moments where you're trying to find what to do. You're like trying to find somebody to play Connect Four with. It's like no, it's like you're in pure presence with God and with others. And so time gets kind of funky. And so like there's salvation history, and just like in our lives, we have our own ultimate death and rising at the end of our lives, but we have many versions of that throughout our life. And then the world has what they call like eschatological history, which is like, it's all moving towards like the second coming. And so different regions and parts of the world in faith are preparatory for the fullness of truth. And you can get bits of truth, bits of like encounters with Christ, but it's not the fullness of truth as of yet. That's a Catholic answer. But I mean, there's other monotheistic faiths that would be like, if you don't believe this, that's from the devil and you're a heathen and you should be killed.
Right.
Right? Like, so each religion does have an answer to that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, people have been around and long enough to like ask that question from each faith perspective.
Yeah. It's a big pill to swallow for me.
Yeah. Total. I mean, I get it. I get it. Like I said, faith is a gift, and like I don't fault anyone for their beliefs.
Yeah.
Is there any religion for you that like, if I could believe, that's what I'd want to be? Is there any that are like just like intellectually attractive for you?
I mean, you know the answer already, I feel like.
I'm not sure. Egyptian?
No, ancient Greek.
Oh, like pantheistic.
Yeah, like pantheon. Yeah, because you
down with Zeus?
No, not so much that, but I mean, I understand like there's these different natural phenomena happening in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's a God for that, there's a God for that, there's a God. They compartmentalize very well.
Personalize it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the coolest one, for me, it'd be ancient Greece.
Yeah, it's personification of the natural order.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
The Romans just a watered down version, so it's fine. But they can have it.
Who had the bigger empire? I forget.